Welcome everybody, Red Arrow 23 here, time for another addition to the Boom Beach Playbook. Today we're going to be looking at the right shields on Maze. Let's boom this beach! So Pin High is going to be showing us the right shields. We'll have a quick look at the hit from start to finish, and then we'll go back through and sort of break it down. So here we go, he's just going to be clearing out some mines. Just figuring it out, seeing the best way. So there was one barrage, 2 arts so far. 3 arts. There we go. So we got the flare landing. Check out the flare spots, these are going to work well. And the flare up. Nice. And I believe he flares the furthest shield first. And then get some shocks out. And then he's going to be flaring, aiming for the time to be 1 or 2 salvos on each shield. So nice work. And then obviously we want to be using the rest of our GBE as best we can. So he's clearing out some mines on the other side. So nice work, Pin High. Great hit, came down to the very last hit on this one, and Pin High held up his end of the bargain. So let's have another look at that attack. Okay, so setup. We have sabotaged a laser just below this one, which I'm not a big fan of Sabo, but it's okay, we've got it, and we managed to get, I'm not sure what that might have been, a machine gun, unsure. This was taken out in one of the opening hits. If it is still up, it's normally a shock blaster. If it is still up and it is a shock blaster or a doom cannon, the range is going to mean that you're going to have to use 1 smoke on the landing, and it has to be a pretty accurate smoke. You might have to use 2. So just be aware of that. It's definitely possible just to go around it. It's just an extra smoke, so you need to be calculating your GBE a little bit differently, but that's okay. And the rest of the setup, obviously you got to be clearing some mines. These are, we got some level 22, level 21 mines. Can't really afford to hit any mines when you're going to have some of your Zookas going into the barbed wire. So yeah, definitely need to be clearing these out. He did it with 1 barrage, got a little bit unlucky with the one left behind by the barbed wire, and then just cleared out a couple more. So got 1 more coming in here. Anytime now, boom. Right. So then what we're going to be looking for is a flare land on the right hand side of the beach. Obviously if that shock blaster to the left of the sniper tower was up, then we would have to be smoking the landing, but that's okay. It's not there right now. So you can see that sniper range, and then from this corner, as they sort of pop out, we want to be flaring anywhere on this line from the flare through to like this mine, that mine there. Anywhere along that line should work quite well, preferably before this little white box. So sort of in that little avenue between just to the right side of that white box to where the flare is now. I wouldn't put any further, any closer to the beach than that. We do have rocket launcher range as well, laser. We're going to be trying to keep the delay. If we have the delay, we're going to have a lot better chance of pulling this off. So let's have a look. And then we're smoking. That was a little bit early, but it's all good. The sniper tower might have taken the girl. And then we've got 1 medkit going on the barbed wire. Some of the girls like to go and hug this sniper tower, and then the rest will be going slightly further right. If you do flare further up to the right of this white box, sort of on that corner below, sort of between this bit of barbed wire and this bit of barbed wire, they tend to hug the sniper tower a little bit more. So you're just going to have to get used to that. You obviously can't be using the perfect 45-degree angles, because if you flare down in this corner, it just sort of ruins your path a little bit. So yeah, definitely flare straight in there, anywhere on that line. And one med kit, and we want to be keeping these Zookas moving, so as soon as the first ones are getting there, you want to be sending your next flare. So your next flare, you probably want to have it exactly where this is, so it's 9 o'clock with the shield generator, or just in front of the shield generator on the left hand cell. You don't want it any further either way really, because you don't want to be jumping into the barbed wire too early. You don't want any of the Zookas going to the left of the sniper tower, because that's just bad news. Lose a whole bunch on that barbed wire. So let's have a look. The Zookas are staying nice and packed. Always suggest using the same flare points as these videos. And then as we're arriving on scene, that smoke could even be a little bit further right, because we're not going to have too many Zookas spreading in towards the shock launchers, but we are going to have, as you'll see now, we are going to have a few sort of go around to the right, which isn't a big deal at the moment. We did hit that mine, and I didn't actually notice that in the replay before, but he did hit that mine, so you might need to clear a little bit more. They do spread a bit more on the left hand side. Some Zookas are going to go into the barbed wire. If you have the GBE for a medkit, you might want to use it, but they're not going to go all the way through the barbed wire, and once they stop, since the latest update with the heroes, they're not going to take any more damage. Make sure that this hasn't been changed in an update after I've uploaded this video, but at the moment, in the current state of the game, if you stay still in barbed wire, you don't take any damage, as you'll see here. So the order of things, we're going to be flaring the furthest shield generator first, and then that way we're going to have all of the movement happening right at the beginning under smoke, and then when we reflare, the Zookas aren't going to have to waste time moving. So the whole time that we're under out of smoke, all the Zookas aren't going to waste any time walking. They're just going to be aiming, firing, aiming, firing, aiming, firing, responding to flares and all that good stuff. Okay, let's look at the shocks. So this is a pretty tough shock. This top one with the two flamethrowers, sometimes that top flamethrower is a laser, so we definitely need to shock that. The flamethrower obviously isn't an issue for this attack. You can get a shock on the, so where that flamethrower is, all the way down to this middle shock launcher. I believe that is possible. Negative. So if this laser and this cannon was a laser, so this flamethrower is never a laser from my memory. It's just this laser, and where the cannon is, that's sometimes also a laser. So you should be able to get those two and this middle shock launcher in one shock. So that's the hard shock. You can do the mirror of it on the left hand side, so you could get these two lasers here and that middle shock launcher. So unless you want to spend 3 shocks on that sort of center area, that's the way you can do it. You can do a hard shock on one of them, whichever one looks easier. I prefer to do it on this the 2 lasers on the left and the shock launcher in the middle, just because it's a little bit easier to see where you need to shock with your references, just because of the angle of the defenses. So 2 shocks there, and then you've usually got, or we've sometimes got some lasers in here. These rocket launchers are going to be out of range for the most part, and these lasers are all good too, but you normally have to shock these lasers here, the laser behind you, and these rocket launchers in the front. Obviously keep your eye open for any other splash damage. We're not too worried about the sniper towers, although they are going to take a few, and these sniper towers in the front. And so let's see him throw the extra shocks. So he's used 3 for this center section, which is all good. We're just talking about the most GB restrictive sort of mindset. And then we're looking for 2 salvos on each shield, and we're timing that flare perfectly so that we can get it onto the next as soon as that shot has been fired from the Zookas. If we kept delay, we should be able to get all 6 shots off. If you bring brick and battle orders, you should be able to get that off quite comfortably. Obviously the flare timing is critical though. Another tactic that I've seen a few players prefer is, instead of flaring the furthest shield, because they spread quite a lot for that furthest shield, what they'll do is they'll flare the middle shield so the Zookas don't spread as much. take that down, then the front one which is closest, they don't have to walk to it, and then they'll flare the furthest one. And then worst case scenario, they don't get the furthest one, and then it's just a one shield rush, I guess. But this works as well. I wouldn't suggest doing the front one first because it just doesn't make sense. So either 2, 1, 3 or 3, 2, 1. And if you're going for all of them, 3, 2, 1 is probably best. But make sure you clear out those mines because pin high nearly got ruined. And then you're just using spare GBE, depending on what your notes look like, what your leadership is doing, what you needed to set up for the next guy. In this case, we're setting up for the core rush. Sparky just coming in for giggles. But we're just clearing out those mines in the 10 o'clock for the core rush. Alright, let's have one more watch through and we'll just quickly go over everything one more time. So as you see, we're going to be clearing out some mines. We did spread into more of the mines than he did clear, so let's have a check, see what we did clear and what we didn't. We have tagged the sniper tower, so the Zookas are going to respond to that once they arrive in the area. So these are the mines that he cleared, and we still hit some. When they looked for that for the furthest shield generator, they still managed to hit some of these. If they're and even if they're level 20 or 18 even, they're still going to kill a bunch of Zookas because you're going to hit more than one, more than likely, because they're so close together. So flare land, and then when we're flaring up, we can drop Sparky a little bit late so she doesn't get too far ahead, but we're doing relatively short flares, so we don't have to worry about it too much. And then that flare position is quite critical because we don't want any Zookas going left of the sniper towers. Once we're in position and we've got our smoke as perfectly placed as possible, we can flare onto the far shield generator or the middle one, depending. And then we can get our shocks off. We discussed sort of the optimum way to shock. And pin high is nailing these shields. Look at this flare timing. Flare timing is just beautiful. Boom! And then all the Zookas are gone bye-bye. So nice work, pin high. That's the maze right shields. Give us a comment down below if you take it out any differently and why. And then give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and subscribe for more Boom Beach. Yeah.